Hi everybody, I hope everyone's doing well in this crazy times. So, what I want to talk about, guys, I'm going to do a few videos, see if I can get a few videos out tonight. I'm not saying I will, but I'm going to get quite a few videos out as quick as I can, because I haven't really got any. I haven't really done many videos in the past week or so, and I'm going to do a few, and I'm going to talk about a few different topics. So this first video that I'm going to talk about is the four elements. So you've got earth, you've got water, you've got air, and you've got fire. Now, we're told these are elements, and that's it really. You know, we live on this earth, and this is all it is. You know, we have water, we drink water, we live on the earth's what we live on, it's dirt, you know, and all that stuff. We breathe the air. And, you know, fire, we have fire, you know, to keep us warm, or fireplaces, stuff like that. We don't really look into it that much. And I think maybe there's a hidden reason why they don't want us looking too much into this stuff. But how I see this, and again, this is just a speculation video, it's just a theory video. And a lot of people do actually agree with what I've said when I've discussed it in the past, but the elements, earth, water, air and fire, are actually entities. They are entities. And as crazy as this sounds, guys, I believe they're living entities. You know, they're a different type of entity to what we are, but they are entities. Maybe they're gods. Maybe these are the gods because this is what creates life. Have you ever thought about that, guys? It's just a theory. You know, it's a good one. This is what creates life. Earth, water, air and fire. These entities mix together to create the world that we're in. And earth. Wow, guys. Trees, plants, grass. You know, trees, they all breathe, don't they? They breathe air. They're living. So the earth is a living entity. It's not a dead entity, it's a living entity. But the way the world powers that be want you to think is to create this idea without having much thought on it, that it's a dead world. It's, you know, it's not, you know, the cities and the concrete jungles are the way forward, and the false and the fake plants and the fake food and everything like that, creating a dead world, the virtual reality. That's the dead world that they're creating, and they want to get rid of this living world. This is the living world. The trees, the plants, and the wildlife that survive around the plants and live within the trees, live within the grass. You know, they spend a lot of animals spend all their life in the grass, in the trees, all the time, right? And that's how it should be. I'd say we would be a lot healthier, maybe even live a lot longer, if we were close to trees and plants and grass, you know? But the earth is a living entity because it breathes. It breathes through the trees and the plants, yeah? So that's one entity, one element that makes up this world. Water. Now this is interesting because this, from theoretical point of view, this Japanese guy, Masaru Emoto, did some experiments which I'm going to discuss shortly. But I also, as crazy as this sounds, guys, I believe water is another entity, another living entity that doesn't have the same frequency as us to communicate with it. But now, I'm not saying this is, I 100% believe this, it's just based on what this guy has done. Now, this guy is a Japanese businessman, author, and I'll show you what he's done. Emoto said that water was a blueprint for our reality, and that emotional energies and vibrations could change its physical structure. His water crystal experiments consisted of exposing water in glasses to various words, pictures, or music, then freezing it and examining it in the ice crystals. Now, aesthetic properties with microscopic photography. He claimed that water exposed to positive speech and thought, so he said positive. He said something positive to some water. Created a visual pleasing ice crystals that he took photographs of, and then the negative intentions yield ugly ice formations. So guys, I want you to have a look at this. This is the experiments that he apparently did. And I don't know how true this is, but this is a guy that went to university. He's got a Wikipedia page and he's claiming that he wrote these words on jars. So he wrote positive words like thank you, wisdom, truth, internal, angel, I love you, and peace, right? And look at the beautiful formations that they formed. And he used a macro photography to take these pictures of these particles in the water, and he froze them. And he wrote these messages on them, and this is what formation they had on the positive ones. But then you look at the negative ones, and they're all negative. So in this conclusion, to what I've seen, that says that water maybe is an entity, but we don't have the right frequency to communicate with it. If that makes sense. Now, do I believe it 100%? I don't know. But I'm going to do an experiment on it at some point. And I want you guys to as well, if you can. What you do is you get some water, get 2 jars of water, get a message, write a positive message on one jar of water, and then on the other jar of water, write a negative message. So a positive on one and a negative on the other, right? Play a heavy metal song or a really bad song to the one with the negative message on, right? Then if you can play a musical instrument, or you can get a nice musical formation off YouTube and play it to the water with the positive message on, then freeze it, put it in a freezer, leave it in there for a week or 2, take it out. And I don't know if you've got any photo lenses or microscopes, or even you might be able to look from the jar and see the difference between the two. Does the negative one with the negative energy look something like this, with dark, horrible and brown, and then the positive one look beautiful, white and crystal clear? I mean, I don't believe it yet because I haven't done it yet, but this guy claims that this is true. Now, with the world that we live in, guys, we don't know what's true. You know, we've had a blanket over our eyes to believe that this materialistic world is all it is, and there's so much more to it. And I believe that the Earth is a living entity that we're living on. So yeah, and you know, that's the Earth, the trees, the plants, they breathe. The Earth breathes. The water is also part of the Earth as well. Maybe it's one entity. The air, another element, one of the 4 elements. Air, now, think of this, guys. You've got the wind. The wind whistles through the trees, doesn't it? It moves stuff, you know, it creates sound effects. Sometimes it can create musical sound effects even. As crazy as that sounds. It blows, it moves. Maybe that's another invisible entity that we can't communicate with, that creates this world. And of course, we're going to go on to the main one now, because this one's interesting. Fire. This is the only entity that I don't associate with the other 3. The trees, the plants, the water and the air. Because this entity, it's not an element, it's an entity. It just comes out of nowhere, doesn't it? And it destroys and kills anything in its way. It hurts anything in its way. And of course the water, an entity, it's almost like Russia and America, isn't it? It's like the water is oh no, let's say a good guy versus a bad guy. So the fire's the devil and the water is Jesus or the God, right? The water kills the fire, puts the fire out, destroys the fire. It saves whatever's left. So the water basically destroys the fire. Now we represent fire with hell, the devil, Satan, yeah? Lucifer, the light bearer, in it light, it just comes out of nowhere, doesn't it? Sometimes fires just appear out of anywhere. People don't think about how amazing and magical this is, really, because we're used to seeing it every day. But this is a magic element that just appears out of nowhere. Think about it, guys. We only don't think of it like that because we're used to seeing it. We've seen it since we were little. We were born. We've been born into it to say that this is just a normal element. But I reckon there's other entities like this that they don't tell us about. But I think maybe a theory that the light bearer, Lucifer, light. You got the light lanterns in Paris. The Paris was named the City of Light, the City of Lucifer, and all the stuff that happened in Paris with Freemasonry, all sorts of stuff. Yeah, you got to think about stuff like that. But this kills and destroys anything in its way. And water is what stops it. So these are like two entities, living entities. I know it's crazy how it sounds. I'm just being theoretical here. But it destroys anything that's living and kills it. So it's a dead entity that touches... It hurts anything it touches. But water destroys it. And of course, fire doesn't mix with trees and plants. I mean, water, trees and air all mixed together, but fire doesn't. So I reckon fire is an element of evil. Does that make sense? And death. And it is light. It bears light. It's like, when you got a fire at night time in the dark, it's darkness visible, like the same Freemason in the Masonic cult. They say that the light bearer, Lucifer, the light bearer, and it's darkness visible. And that's what I see fire is. So yeah, guys, just a quick video with my theory and thoughts. Let me know what you think anyway. And I'm going to do a few more videos. But yeah, cheers, guys.